Dak had his youth camp talking over the weekend. Got a youth camp every year up there at the Star. Must be awesome for the kids that get to go to that. Let me ask you, with a changing offense, with a new wide receiver, Zeke's gone, is it time to see maybe number 4 in more significant preseason action? The truckwreck.com fan text is open for this subject and others that we'll cover here inside Cowboys Twitter. But please leave your name and city you're texting from and let us know what you're thinking on this. He said, I'm always down for playing, always down for getting the reps. I'm going off their schedule. If I get action in the preseason, I'll be all for it. And if I don't, I'll make sure I'm preparing and getting those reps in practice. This is a good opportunity that you'd like to see the quarterback learning this Tex Coast offense get a little bit more reps than what we've seen, Brian.
I'm going to say I'm always up for the quarterbacks and others getting to play in preseason games. I think he'll be more challenged and put under more stress in practice against Dan Quinn's defense. I think the coverage will be better. I think the pressure, he won't get hit. Of course he won't get hit. But I think that if they schedule practices right where they have those team periods where Dan Quinn, they don't, usually you'll script stuff against offense versus defense.
Yeah.
And the coaches know what's going on. Mm-hmm. If McCarthy was smart, he would just play off script. Mm-hmm. He would say, Dan, we're going to have a 15-minute period today, 12-minute period today of you calling defenses and we're going to call offenses.
That should be a part of every training camp.
But sometimes
that's real simulation. I get doing it the other way for a portion of it. Yeah. I understand that, but you would think at least a couple times a week or whatever during camp, it'd be like, all right, this is real life scenario. You're not going to know what's coming. We're not going to play into the defense's hands.
Let's play to the point where we're not taking the backs to the ground.
Yeah,
or we're not tackling.
Sure,
but if you beat Tyron Smith, it's a tag, sack right there. But let's play it. Let's have like a weekly kind of simulations or maybe even daily of a game.
So hold on here, Brian. This is interesting to me because you are a Krusty, right? Mm-hmm. And Krusty's usually like live action. Are you saying the practice is better than the preseason?
I'm saying that if you don't want to play Dak, most teams won't play their starters, in games. So what you're probably playing against is second and thirds. So if I'm Dak, I think it was important in 16 and 17 when Dak was learning, he's now, 7-8 years?
Aren't you back there, though, learning a new offense? We're back in learning mode.
Yeah, I'm to the point where, I'm going to let – I think that the competition that he's going against in practice is better than what he's going to see in a preseason game.
I hear you. I appreciate your perspective. It's much more learned than mine. I think there's something to live action, and I think you got the Giants September 10th.
Yeah,
and there's an energy to it when you see the guys in the other uniforms that you're not familiar with. That is, I think, going to prepare you for dealing with live action. We got to hit the ground running. And if New York wants to not play anybody and we're kicking their ass at halftime week 1, I'll take that as a huge dub. It's worth the minor injury risk of a quarterback in a preseason game to me.
See, the thing is, I just worry about you have that second or third string guy for Jacksonville in week 1 in the preseason that's trying to make the team. And all of a sudden he beats your guy, and then Dak gets just blasted in the back.
Hey, Romo got hurt in a preseason game against Seattle.
At Seattle, I was at the game. Me and Brad were calling the game, and that ruins your game. That ruins your game going forward.
Yeah, that ruins a lot of stuff.
And so or it ruins your season going forward. I'm all about Dak getting work, and I'm about the crust. You're right about preseason is one of those weird situations for me where I don't think you have to be a hero here.
Yeah, and you are playing a lot of the backups anyways when you play. And then to your point, in practice, you're playing against one of the best defenses in the league, which is the Cowboys defense, and you're playing against their ones, and you can control it enough to where I know my quarterback's not going to get hurt here, at least from being hit, because we're not going to allow that to happen. So that makes sense. Are they doing any of the joint practice?
No, that's another way to kind of get around the preseason games too. Like last year, they went to Denver. With the Rams in came.
Are they doing those this year?
No, they're not. Not at all.
Do you know why?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Huh.
I have no idea.
That is interesting. The opinions are flowing in, the 469. Do you think something went wrong last year, though? I mean, why would you suddenly not do it? Salmon Salina says, we don't want a black swan event to Dak in a game that doesn't matter. Definitely see that. 469, Brian nailed it. The preseason game reps are fake reps. Nobody wants to show anything in the preseason. All the good reps are in practice. It's just a little bit of a money grab, isn't it, at this point, the preseason, and for evaluating the bottom of the roster,
I
for
think,
sure.
To me personally, I would go with 2 preseason games, a home and away game, but I would have more joint practices where you can control the quarterbacks aren't going to get hit, but you work with somebody that's not going to fight you. You always worry about the fights.
Like the Raiders.
You always worry about the Rams. There was always some kind of fight going on. But I think there's a way to get things out of it. But me personally, Dak against this defense, if you just schedule me a 12 to 15 minute period a day where you call defenses and it gets Mike McCarthy going back about calling plays.
Yeah,
it also
his own practice.
It gets him into a rhythm of calling plays where all of a sudden Dan's trying to stop him and Mike's sending personnel into a game, and there's a little bit of that 12 to 15 minute rep work you can get, and I think it'd be good.
It's interesting they wouldn't want the joint practices. It seems like it'd be easier to do in California. Maybe take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah.
Tonka from Duncanville, Dak needs to build the chemistry with his wide receiver core, especially with Cooks and the new wrinkles that they're adding on offense.
I think if you work Cooks against Gilmore and Diggs and Bland and anybody else that you want to, to me that just seems like a good opportunity. But that you can get some continuity working at practice. I mean, that's why Dak takes these guys to the Dak yard. I don't know if Cooks was involved with the Dak yard stuff.
Oh yeah,
but Tolbert, you need Tolbert. Tolbert needs to come out of that shell, and be a lot better player than he was last year.
Yeah, GBag Nation. Dak Prescott talking over the weekend at his youth camp. He also talked about switching play callers and said a big point of that is if you've got to get into the season before game one, know who you are and what you want to do and how you want to attack. So I don't know. That talks about needing reps, but as Brian has said, very easy to do. And that would be awesome to watch if they do that in Oxnard, California. If they're going live, that would be a lot of fun.
Live, but you don't get to bring the ball carriers to the ground or don't take a cheap shot at a receiver cross in the middle that way.
And he credited Mike McCarthy, something that he has not done a lot of. And I think we're still waiting for Brian to give Mike McCarthy his first piece of credit. But he said he's done a great job.
He cares about the Mike McCarthy is a player's coach in a sense.
That's right. Oh, yes, you're right.
He takes care of their bodies.
Yeah. Players coach, keeps them off their feet late in the year. Yeah. He's done a great job in the spring and the offseason of getting an idea.
Healthy team to get bounced in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. But we've got to make sure we really button it in and define it once we finish camp, Prescott said. So those couple of weeks after they leave Oxnard before we get to September 10th, sounds like it's going to be a pretty important run of time for them. All right, GBag Nation, we're doing some Cowboys Twitter here for you. Top tweets going viral about America's team. We jump to Warren Sharp. He posted offensive plays that went 20-plus yards last season. Warren Sharp's preseason publication is out, by the way, so we're probably going to be doing quite a bit of Warren Sharp content between now and the 16th. But yes, this is basically chunk play stats. Number 1 in the NFL last year.
Kansas City.
Most chunk plays, yes. And to do that without Tyreek Hill is just awesome. Testament to Andy Reid.
Think they did it by a bunch.
Yeah.
How many did they have? Is it?
Well, they had 83.
83, but what was the next group?
The Eagles did have 80.
Okay.
They were number 2.
Okay, I thought it was a bunch.
49ers come in third at 75. I mean, those are two teams with multiple, all-pro type weapons, the Eagles. And here's the Chiefs. We got Kelsey.
Yeah.
Did they have a wide receiver? I know no disrespect to Hardman or the guy they got from the Giants or anything like that, but it was just a masterful job. Then they get hurt in the dang Super Bowl, still figure out a way to get it done. That offense is just unreal. The Cowboys end up 9th, and that kind of surprised me.
30-something?
Yes. They must have had 60. Yeah. 60-something in there.
Was it
50-something
60?
there. Yeah. Because
I think at 30. Why
dead last was the Giants with 43.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah.
But the Cowboys end up in a tie for ninth, and I would say that's awesome considering the lack of speed and great skill players they had last year. I would say that bodes quite well for them. I would set a goal like, can we get into the top 5 this year with more chunk plays?
Yeah, 100%. I was actually surprised to see that as well. I wonder how many of those was Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Like how many of those were Tony Pollard 20-yard chunk plays running the ball? Because we know he had quite a few of those, which is good that he's obviously returning. You would think this number would go up with hopefully better route concepts, and then a guy like Brandon Cooks with more speed and the continued usage of CeeDee Lamb. And then it seems like you're going to have more playmaking at the tight end position with Ferguson and Hendershot especially, and then we'll see about Scooney. But I think those guys will have better opportunities at chunk plays in the passing game than what Dalton Schultz provided you.
Oh, yeah. And plus you're taking Zeke out.
For sure. Deuce Vaughn might be a chunk play kind of dude.
He can go 25, 30 yards on you, a healthier Gallup. And this is very predictive of success. 8 of the 9 top teams when it came to 20-plus yards made the playoffs. Yeah. And the team in those 9 that didn't make it was Detroit, which would have made the playoffs if you had restarted the year at the end of the season.
Makes it very impressive what Brian Dable was able to do last year, having the least amount of 20-plus yard plays, but still being able to make the playoffs was amazing. But the top 8 of 9 going, that's what we talk about when we're talking about creating explosive plays and limiting them defensively. That is almost and maybe has surpassed the turnovers as the most important thing to try and look at on a game-to-game basis. How many chunk plays did you have, and how many did you give up? And that'll tell the story a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of teams out there that are that can overcome turnovers. They can't overcome giving up the chunk plays.
Right.
There's a lot of teams that, like, it used to be like, hey, you can get all the yards you want, but if scoring defense and all that was the big thing.
Yeah, bend but don't break.
Yeah, turnovers was like something, you're going to lose the turnover battle, but there's teams that are losing the turnover battle and still winning these games. But they're not giving up chunk plays, and they're getting chunk plays.
682 pointing out Kellen Moore gets no love. Maybe he should. We're about to find out. You had some other Warren Sharp gold, though, didn't you, Chief? Maybe we could get another stat in here.
Yeah, I could pull some stuff up here. I was very interested in the numbers that he had in regards to third down conversion rate for quarterbacks. And we know that was something big when we were talking about the differences between Dak and Cooper Rush, because Cooper Rush steps in, they're winning games. What sets Dak apart from Cooper Rush? Why couldn't they just keep this Cooper Rush thing going? And a lot of it came down to the third down difference. Like historically, Dak has been a really good third down quarterback, like some of the best in the league. And so Warren Sharp is, he's teasing his book, and so he's giving you little bite-sized things to try and get you to want to jump into the entire book. And one of them is ranking the quarterbacks on what their third down and long conversion rates are. So when you were in a 3rd and 6 or more, how often were you converting that thing? And how high do you think Dak ended up on that list? How do you think that list looks?
I'll go 6th.
I'm going to say he's probably pretty good at this. I'm going to say he was 4th.
So number 1 is, no surprise,
Pat Mahomes.
And all the numbers that Warren Sharp has come out with, like efficiency from in the pocket, efficiency from outside the pocket, who goes out of the pocket and still doesn't get sacked, and all these things. And Mahomes is just number 1. Yeah. There's just like, you don't really find a weakness to his game, which is just insane, and we all understand that. But Dak came in at number 2.
No.
Nice.
Dak was the second best quarterback in the sport at converting not just third downs, but third and obvious passing situations.
Yeah.
The defense knows you've got to throw the ball to get this first down, and Dak was second only to Pat Mahomes in that scenario. And I knew Dak was good at it, but I wasn't expecting that good.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, dude, that's a heck of a trait if you got a quarterback that's consistently converting 3rd and longs. And Kellen Moore was putting him in a lot of 3rd and long situations.
Remember the situations with T.Y. Hilton? There were several times when T.Y. Hilton came on board where they were throwing the ball down the field with like a 3rd and 31 they converted. I think they ended up.
Yeah, it was a huge play.
Yeah.
It was a huge play.
Exactly.
I'm trying to remember what game it was, but might have been was it the Eagles game?
Might have been the Eagles
game. Eagles game.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's only a percentage difference. Pat Mahomes is converting third and more than 44% of the time, at least last season, and Dak's 43% of the time.
Wow, that's outstanding. I don't know how you throw shade at that if you're a Dak fan. I think it's complicated. It's a difficult evaluation. There's things about Dak's game that you would want to be a lot better, but it's clear he does a lot of things great. You got something else?
Well, I just saw this one as well, the passing from the pocket, like the efficiency passing from the pocket, and Dak was number 9 in that scenario. Pat Mahomes, once again, is number 1. But you'll see, Josh Allen's in the top 5. Jalen Hurts was number 6 in this scenario. But let me see where Jalen Hurts ended up on the third and obvious passing situations. Let me see where he's on in that list, because that's something that you don't think Jalen Hurts would be all that great at. And I guess we'd be pretty close to right on that one. 31% of the time. So wow. Jalen Hurts
12% less than Dak.
12% less than Dak in third and obvious passing situations. And so that's going to be the question about Jalen Hurts, and even Josh Allen in that scenario, tied with Jalen Hurts, 31%.
Yeah, wow, that's surprising. Yeah, I mean, I am fairly convinced. I'm 100% convinced Dak is going to be the better quarterback than Jalen Hurts when all is said and done, and we're just not giving enough credit to that incredible offensive line the Eagles have put together. And he's got 2 number 1 wide receivers and a star tight end. Okay, thanks, Chief. Warren Sharp, by the way, is the guy whose information we are referencing. If you're wondering, you can Google that publication, and he does an incredible seasonal preview, what they struggled with. He looks at, what analytics teams should be paying attention to more and what the weaknesses are. I think every team owes it to themselves to, if not read Warren Sharp's preview, have a staff of guys that essentially do the same thing and kind of check your work, self-scout you from an analytical place and see how much of that you can apply to your game plan or your play calling.